We are on Oholot, Perek Tet, Mishnah Tet Vav, 15th Mishnah in the 9th chapter of Masechet Oholot. So now we switch from the Kaveret. The Bukati gives an explanation why the Mishnah switches, which you can look up if you want to. We're now going to talk about a grave that's embedded in a mountain. Says the Mishnah, Aron shi rechava milematan v'tzara milemalan. So it's wide on the bottom and it's narrow on the top. And there's a mate inside of it. So I'm going to show you the way Rav Posen describes it, and I'm going to show you the way Rav Scheinberg draws it. It's worthwhile to see actually both of them. So Rav Posen draws it like this. He says it's like, let's look at the Bar Tanura for a second, because he actually quotes the Bar Tanura, but I think he takes him a little too literally. Hi Aron, this casket, or this burial place, is Shein Sela Shebolet Minahar. It's a piece of, Shein is a tooth of rock that protrudes from the mountain. V'nechsabo kever rachav milamata v'tzar milamala. And they hewed out a grave that was wide at the bottom and narrow at the top. Upiv lamala, and its mouth is at the top. So he says, interestingly, he draws it in such a way that it's literally sticking out bolet sideways. Why you would build it that way, I have no idea. To me, it makes more sense to be built the way Rav Scheinberg draws it. Let's see if we can find it here. It's sticking out. He draws it to be sticking out from the top. And you can see in this picture that he draws it in such a way that it's wide at the bottom and it's at the top of a mountain. Which one the Mishnah mentions, I'm not really sure. It's kind of difficult to know exactly which one Mishnah is talking about. Nonetheless, the Mishnah says, or why you would do this at all, I'm not entirely sure, but whatever. Hanogeya ba milimatan tahor. It's wide at the bottom and narrow at the top. Umilamalan tameh. If you touch it at the bottom, you're tahor. Why? Says the Bar Tanura. Demashe keneged piv nechshav ke'aron. The part that's corresponding, meaning it's narrow at the top. So the area corresponding to its mouth, to the area where the person was buried in, where the person was like the entrance, that's considered like the aron. But on the sides, it's not like that at all. On the other hand, and by the way, I just want to show you in Rav Posen, there's huge debates about how it was drawn. Rambam writes it this way, a different kind of way, and then there are other Mefarshim. You can, if you want to, you go on the Otzara Chachmar, find your own copy of Tabnit Ahla. We're going to skip down until the next case. The next case, the Mishnah says, is, on the other hand, but Rechava milimala, and what if it's wide at the top, V'tzara milimata, and it's narrow at the bottom? Hanogea ba, if you touch this piece of, Hanogea means you touch this piece of rock, Mikol makom tameh. If you touch it anywhere, it's tameh. The real question is, remember we talked about the idea of kever satum, if it was an enclosed space. So then the whole kever is tameh. So the question is this, the way I understand it, the question is this whole piece of rock considered burial, considered kever? Or is the rock not considered kever, only where it connect corresponding? So therefore, if it's wider at the top, then if you touch it anywhere, then you're tameh. Bar Tanura. Okay, or let's look a little bit more. Haita shaveh. What if it's just squared off? Hanogea ba mikol makom tameh di Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer says wherever you touch it, the whole thing is considered a kever. Rabbi Yeshua Omer. Rabbi Yeshua says mitefach ulamatan tahor. Mitefach ulamalan tameh. If you touch the bottom tefach, remember because it's at the top of a mountain, I guess. So the tefach below, okay, is tahor, but from the top tefach and above, that is tameh. So let's look for a second at the way they draw it. Okay, this is the way he explains it. If it's wide at the bottom, v'tzara milamala, and narrow at the top, that's one way. And then its mouth and there's a cover. Let's see for a second. On the other end, this is the other way around. Okay, it's narrow at the bottom and wide at the top. And here it's haita shaveh, and this is if it's even. And the question is, how much are you touching? You're touching, I guess, the side. It's really an interesting question of what parts you're exactly touching. Mishnah continues, Suya kibin kamtura. If it's made like a kamtura, let's go to the Bar Tanura for a second. Hu kli, it's a vessel. Shekisuya mechase ovi hadfanot. This cover covers the width of the defanot. So we'll just I looked it up in the Jastro. It's a box or a chest. So I don't read the Greek, but I'm sure if you do read the Greek, you can send me a WhatsApp or a Telegram or an email and tell me what exactly this Greek is. Let's see, make it a little bigger so you can see it. Kamtura, here we are. I don't read Greek. There's a pi in there. I can tell you that much. So if it made like a box, and that the way the Bar Tanura says the cover covers the whole thing. Because remember now the whole cover is is covering over the whole thing. So therefore, it becomes like a kever satum, as we said. Kamin guluskus. On the other hand, if it's like a guluskus, so the Bartanura here says, what does that mean? A guluskus. Ein kisui shelo ela keneged chalalo. So it's the cover doesn't cover. If I have a cover here, right? I have a cup. It doesn't cover over the entire thing. Rather, it only covers the top. Okay, that's so then in that case, anogea ba mikol makom tahor. If you touch it anywhere on the side of this kever, it's tahor. Chutz mi makom ptichata, except for the place where it's opening. So let's see over here. Here he says this is a kamtera. The cover covers the entire covering, even the sides. Guluskus. Okay, it just covers the opening itself. So therefore, and the way the Bartanura is explaining it, the covering, the opening is what's really important. So he says this part, if you make your kever, he says the way he's explaining it is if this kever is made like a kamtera, that the whole thing is covered over, then the whole thing becomes the cover. The cover covers over the side, so therefore the whole thing is tameh. Whereas over here, only if you touch the top, that would be the part that would be considered tameh. All right, you got enough of, except for makom ptichata, which is everything is tahor except for that area where you touch it. I think it's enough of the grave hewn into the side of a mountain. We'll stop here. Dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Make it a great day.